it's Liz Yuille from Old Stables Crafts. Thank you very much for joining me again today. Today I have this little project to show you. It's, I think, a really cute card. You can change up the colours, and I'm going to change them just a tiny bit. You can change pretty much everything, but it's a good go-to design. So I'm using, for stamps and dies, I'm using from the Spring Summer catalogue the Amazing Life bundle, which is on page 28 of the Spring Summer catalogue. The bundle, I think the bundle's not terribly well highlighted, I've said this before, and I'll probably say it again. So you've got the stamps, and then down here you've got the amazing rectangle stitched framelit dies. Not easy to say, and they do bundle together, so you can either buy them separately or use the item code for the bundle, and you do need to use that code, not these two. That code means you will save 10%, so instead of £20 and £33, which by my maths is £53, you will only spend £47.50, which is perfect because we are going to use the Botanical Butterflies Designer Series paper, which is one of the items in the Celebration brochure, which, if you remember, for every £45 you spend, you get to pick something from this brochure. You can place an order for more than £45, and for every multiple of £45 you get to pick an item. If you want one of the items at the back, which I'm calling level 2, which are this stamp set and, let me find it, this die set, then those are available free with a £90 purchase. So you can either get one of these or two of the other items. Now I'm quickly flipping through. There's additional host rewards if you've got a larger order or you have a party. Do remember, I'm very happy to do online parties, so contact me if you would like to have a go at that. You just invite all your chums. They can be spread around the country. You don't have to dress for it. You can be in your PJs, and we'll just have a blast doing our online party. There's also the amazing joining offer with this gorgeous tote as one of the options. So do have a look at that if you are a regular purchaser and you've got a large order to place. This is probably the way to go. Stamp sets, the ribbons I'm afraid have gone. We've just been advised that those have gone. I have said that before. And then there's wood elements, these lovely papers, which, as I say, is what I'm using today. Stamps, foil, all sorts. I mean, it's just loving the Celebration catalogue this year. So I'm using Amazing Life and the stitched rectangles. Look at all of these. You get 13 of them, and they cut in the middle and they stitch either side, so we will be having a look at that in a moment. I've got out the two that I'm using. As I say, this is the reverse of the Botanical Butterflies paper, and there you are, there's a piece to prove it. I'm using this pattern this time rather than this one. So let's get started. I don't actually need that for the moment. I'll pop that there. I am going to change it up as a wee bit, as I said. So I'm starting with a scrap of basic black, and on the original I heat embossed in white. This time, and it will become evident why in a moment, I'm going to do it in silver. I have put Embossing Buddy over my scrap of black cardstock, and I'm inking up the stamp that is Life's Too Short to Say No to Cake. And I'm going to pop it towards the right hand side of my scrap, and it doesn't matter too much if it's not perfectly square, because obviously I've got to die cut my piece yet, but make sure it's well pressed down. And as I say, this time I'm going to use silver embossing powder, and it will become obvious why soonish. So sprinkle your embossing powder over your piece of cardstock, flick, and then if there's any obvious bits of embossing powder, whoops, hurl a leaf across your desk. The silver does have a tendency to sort of just adhere a little bit more than the white, and it can end up looking a bit as if it's got a halo, but I think I've got most of it. I'm just going to shut the lid of my embossing powder so that if it falls off, it's not going to fall everywhere. Right, heat up my heat gun. You want it on the hottest setting, and I also need my cheese board, which helps protect my work surface, but it also helps keep the piece of card flat, and it also speeds up the embossing, so it has a multi-purpose function. I love watching this go. It's just so pretty! Alchemy is what it is. It's alchemy. So I'm just going to leave that to one side to set. Embossing powder it goes wet, so do bear that in mind. Don't instantly smudge your finger across it. I've got my little cake already mounted up, and I'm going to ink that up with Memento. I am going to be using Stamping Right markers, but so long as your ink is properly dry and you don't go totally mad with your markers, it's fine. So that's on thick Whisper White. And pop that away and that away. So I think that's probably dry now. I've got my, in the US terms, Swiffer cloth, in the UK terms, got this at Waitrose. It's just a disposable duster. And I'm going to die cut these with my Big Shot, and I'm die cutting so that this is towards the right and this is towards the bottom. So let me just do that, and I will keep yakking while I'm doing it so that you can, I don't know, I'll be just yakking about anything in particular, I don't know. What I would say is that you want to put your dies, anything that has a straight edge or an imitation of a straight edge, you pop your die down, but then put it on, if this is your platform, pop it on at an angle, because otherwise it's a bit like hitting a speed ramp at 40 miles an hour when you're not meant to be. If you go in straight, it's going to damage your car and it's going to go goodumph. Whereas if you go in at an angle, it's not. It's just an easier push through your Big Shot. Right. So here's one, and here's the other. So hopefully you can see that there's stitching around here as well. So there's stitching both on the inside and the outside of the cut edge, which I think is just amazing. And then this one, again, I've got stitching around the outside. It's not as easy to see on the black, but it is there. So, right, somewhere I've got a piece of, oh, I've hidden it. A piece of paper. Right, I need to do some colouring. So these are the 2018-2020 in colour Stamping Right markers. They're in the annual catalogue. I'm just going to colour in my cake. I am going to use the same colours, but I'm going to do something a little bit different with them. Not hugely different. So, say the key with using Stamping Right markers and Memento is not to scrub. So just sweep and make sure that your Memento is dry before you do this. You can blast it with a heat tool if you wish. We will need that again. And then for this, I'm just doing the candle. This is Pineapple Punch. And using the thin end of my marker, I'm going to just colour in my candle. So it's got candy stripes. Obviously you can change that to a different colour if you wish. Don't need those again. And I have got on my little A block, on here there's these little bits, these little 3 dots. There's also these little bits of Billy Don't that can fill in as well. So I'm just going to ink up my dots using my Stampin' Right marker. It doesn't ink them up amazingly well, but it inks them up enough because they're only dots. Now obviously you could just go in with your Stampin' Right marker and add some dots, but hey, we've got a stamp, so we might as well use it. And there. And as ever, a triangle. I like my triangles. So I don't need those anymore, don't need that anymore. So all we need to do now is make the card. Now I've done my card base, half a sheet of A4, but it's the long thin way, and then again scored it down the middle, and then just crease. And then with my paper I've got some tear and tape, and I'm just going to add a couple of bits. This is where having grid paper is wonderful, because I'm going to add a couple of bits either side of my paper so that they are in roughly the same place. And the reason I went for the silver this time is, rather than the black satin ribbon, which I used previously, which is in the annual catalogue, I'm using the black and silver striped metallic ribbon, which is part of the Garage, the classic Garage suite, but I thought if I bring in the silver, I can bring in this ribbon. So I have. So I'm just going to, and again this is where your grid paper is wonderful to have, because you can line up your paper and line up your ribbon so that it will ultimately be straight, which is always a plan in my mind. So bring that round underneath and say line it up one side, and then making sure that's on the line there. There we go. And line it up there, and that is then straight, and we know it's straight because we've measured it that way. And then I'm going to stick this down because we've now got stick on the back. So where's my snail? There we are. You could use tear and tape again, but this is only paper to card, so snail is fine. I would just say that you do need to make sure that you've got some snail round your ribbon, because the ribbon is going to want to pull the paper or lift the paper off. And then I always do like to put the sticky onto the non-sticky. Sorry, no I don't. I normally do it the other way around, but because we're doing it this way, I am putting the sticky onto the non-sticky. So generally I would put my sticky down and then stick my dry thing on top of it. Right, whilst I'm still attached to my ribbon reel, I'm going to feed a piece of ribbon through and tie it in just a half knot. It doesn't need to be a full knot, just half a knot. And that then goes there. Trim your ends, and I do like to trim at an angle. Get rid of my end, and then we just need some dimensionals to pop all this up. Now, because there's the ribbon, I like to keep the dimensionals either side so that the ribbon doesn't get stuck down by the dimensionals, because that will add an extra layer, so this won't sit quite sort of square. So that should run through okay. Then I want one at the top and one at the bottom, but towards that side, because we're going to overlap. So pop this one down first. How are we doing for time? Good grief, we're on 15 minutes already. That is ridiculous. This is actually a quick card to make. So pop that there, so that it is basically straight. And then this overlaps, which is why I've got the dimensionals either side. There we are. And then, just as a finishing touch, the Happiness Blooms enamel dots are Call Me Clover, Calypso Coral, Lovely Lipstick, Night of Navy and Pineapple Punch. But they're close enough, these ones, that I'm going to use the Calypso Coral just to add a little punch. And I'm using my, it's got a sharp end, piercing tool, because I did tell you I had one and I keep not using it. So I'm going to use it this time. And I'm just forming a triangle again. Oop, come on, there we go. Yeah, there, I think this one. So there we go. Two fun, sort of black and white, but with a punch of colour. I think I'm on a bit of a theme at the moment, black with black, white and a punch of colour. This one using the silver because of the silver ribbon. This one using the white embossing because I'm just using the basic black satin ribbon. I hope you enjoyed those. If you did, please give them a thumbs up. When you shop with me, my online store is linked below and on my website. If you remember to use the host code, you get to share on the hostess rewards. And remember, during celebration, there are extra rewards, so there's a little bit more further for them to, well, they go a little bit further. And also, for every £30 you spend using the host code, you get sunflower rewards. And when you've collected 10 of those, you can cash those in for £30 of product of your choice. That does have to be full price product, not from the clearance rack, purely because of timing issues, obviously, because you have to send those back to me. So do remember to do all of that good stuff, and I hope to see you again very soon. Thanks a lot.